Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Hey there. I'm Ron. I know you're not from the, oh, you're from the city library. Excellent. Welcome, Bryce.
Want to come over here, please?
Come on, Bryce. Don't be scared. None of us bite. We're all library fans. Okay, this is going to be a pretty abbreviated meeting this month. Welcome to the new year. Welcome to Ballpark 2026. Got some exciting stuff coming up this year later, like the Ballpark rezone. But tonight, we're basically going to be focused on one thing, as long as the appropriate folks are on to talk about it, the rezone of some properties around the housing authority at West Temple and Jefferson Street and Jefferson Circle. But we do have one other event going on this month, and that is a library engagement session. And we have Bryce here to discuss it. Bryce, you can either get at the front of the room and address the community that way, or I can just sort of tilt that like so, and either whatever floats your boat.
If that's okay. Yeah, so I was asked to come here just to let some folks know about this. So the city library is currently developing a new strategic plan, and we have a few audience engagement sessions that we're doing over the next week. One of them is going to be in the Ballpark neighborhood. We really want to try and focus on hearing some voices from this community because we're going to be preparing to build a full service branch here in the next few years. So that is happening next Wednesday, the 14th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Urban Indian Center. It's a family-friendly event. Anybody can come. There will be availability for kids to participate as well. And it's going to be, so the description says it's a hands-on, imagination-driven workshop.
I saw that.
Yeah.
What does that mean, Bryce?
So from my understanding, they're going to be using some crafting materials to kind of make, let's see, I'm trying to remember how it was described to me. One of my bosses told me that they kind of did a abbreviated version of it, sort of in-house recently, and they were asked to use some materials to depict like a fond childhood memory or something along those lines, and then kind of have open discussion about how public spaces like city libraries can help kind of build community. And I'm really sure where the connection is with the memory thing, but that's my understanding of it so far. So I do have, for anyone who's in person today, some flyers with a QR code to RSVP to it. And yeah, if you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to try to answer to the best of my ability. But really, from my understanding, the whole point is just to try and get direct communication with people who live in the neighborhood, so we can try and, you know, use your ideas as much as possible as we kind of plan the future of the library.
Really cool. Yeah.
Can you tell us if there's been any further discussion about potentially purchasing the former Pride Center and using that as a library site? I know the weight of the physical books are an issue.
Right. So last I heard, that was something that was under consideration. Our finance team, you know, seemed like it was a feasible option. However, as of now, my understanding is the current plan is still moving forward with the city's Ballpark Next redevelopment plan. The library is included in that kind of project plan as having a physical space in that building. So as far as I know, that's the plan going forward. With that said, I'm not privy to all the information from the top, so it still may be under consideration to use that space. I personally really liked that space.
I like that space
there,
too.
so
And it's already accessible
there, yeah.
and it has parking, but yeah. Anyway, it seems like it could be a nice solution. Be nice to see that building used for something cool, right? So. Anyway,
Is this the area the library that you're thinking of?
is that the?
Oh,
No, this is a
that's
separate.
the housing authority.
that's the-
zone. Totally different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry to be confusing. I said one issue and now we're talking about the other issue. But I figured since it's happening next week, we ought to let folks know about what's what.
Mm-hmm.
So. Well, thank you, Bryce. It's nice meeting you, and thanks for talking about, open to everybody. And anything else, just be prepared to come and participate. Is there anything else that we should know?
I mean, that's as far as I know is it's just come participate and yeah, if you have ideas, bring them. That's really what we're looking for is, what people want from the library. I mean, we know a lot of what works already, but we're really trying to, do more. So,
Mhm.
How is our neighborhood library lab doing on West Temple?
so far I think it's going pretty well. So that's my primary location. That's, why I'm here tonight. It's, uh, as of now, we're open, 3 days a week, just for regular drop-in browsing hours, and then as needed by appointment. We do some programming and events there. We had a pretty successful winter craft program a couple weeks ago. That was a lot of fun. But not next week, but the week after, we're doing a kind of a meeting with all the staff at that location to plan out the next year, basically. And that's going to be looking at how we can, use our resources that we have available to, be open more hours, be around more for people to just stop in and see what additional services we could bring. We're a little bit limited right now just due to space and staffing. But we're going to be doing a lot of like strategy and planning at this meeting to just see how much we can cram into that space.
It's a really cool space.
Yeah, it is.
I love
How's
your
the
new
knitting
Dropbox.
been working out?
Sorry?
The knitting?
Oh, so that one, my colleague Harry is the one that hosts that. He moved it to evenings recently. It used to be kind of over the lunch noon hour.
Mhm.
And the last one he had in the evening, I think it went pretty well. I wasn't there for it, but yeah. People seem to enjoy it. Cool. So
Yeah,
Well, we appreciate learning about it, Bryce. Thanks. And yeah, we are excited about it. There's a lot of possibilities with the library.
well, thanks for letting me, talk about it.
My pleasure. And you're welcome to stay and
for
learn
sure.
about this other reason to the extent that you'd like. But
I live in the Ballpark neighborhood too.
I live just east of here, near Liberty Park. But
Oh, mhm.
work here and spend a lot of my time here. So
Good. We need you.
all right, Dan Ackerman, would you like to welcome again?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We used to, back in pre-pandemic times, we met at Taylor Springs.
Yeah,
And
many,
so
many meetings.
the Housing Authority has been a great host to us in past years. And so it's delightful to see you again.
Thank you.
Would you like to present to us yourself? Or
Sure, I have, so my name is Dan Ackerman. I have been the director of the Housing Authority, City Housing Authority for 8.5 years.
let me put a pin in it for, oh, wait, are you gonna?
Oh, no, I gotta run do something.
Okay. Powers are very helpful, tech support from Salt Lake Community
Oh,
College. It's very cool to have tech support.
It's-
You've
Thank
got
you.
two options. I can kind of scoot up near you and
Oh.
put my laptop screen, or you can present at the front of the room. Got two, either's fine with me, whatever you're more comfortable with.
A lot of,
Looks like you have paper handouts, which is.
yeah, but we do have some, I've got 3 staff here today
Oh,
too,
okay.
so
Good.
I'll
If
stand
you,
in
if
front.
you'd prefer that I talk to somebody else and they share their.
No,
screen,
this
that's
is
fine.
fine.
Okay.
Is this a good spot for me?
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh,
you are-
right there.
Yes, you are, you can't quite tell, but you are on,
Okay.
you're on screen.
So I'm Dan Ackerman, the director of the Housing Authority, 8.5 years. There's about 3,000 housing authorities, 3,200 in the US. And they really are separate usually from the cities and the counties. The mayor appoints my board. And we have a wonderful past board member who's here. Her name is Amy Hawkins.
That's kind of you.
So.
I learned a lot. I don't know how much I contributed, but
Yeah.
now I've met students talking about LIHTC funded housing.
Uh-huh.
That never happened before, I promise you.
Yeah. Yeah, so we, housing or public housing or Section 8 has kind of these connotations that come to everyone's mind. We have almost no public housing left. We've repurposed most of the public housing we used to have in Salt Lake City. We do have voucher housing. HUD calls them housing choice vouchers. Those are private landlords that use those vouchers to subsidize people's rents all over the county, actually. But we also do real estate development, and we usually do various types. Some are for the previously homeless or the unhoused. That's not why I'm here tonight. In fact, that's what I thought I'd start by saying is we have some rezoning we're proposing for property we already own. And it is not public housing, and it is going to be more workforce housing, market rate housing, retail even, and ownership. We're hoping you'll help us. We've heard people loud and clear that they want to see more ownership. And we're likely going to be proposing, a year or two from now, so we have time to work together, some ownership opportunities with what we're tearing down. So to start with what we're tearing down, we've developed these two senior housing sites, Taylor Gardens and Taylor Springs. Those are tax credit type properties. But we're also moving our main headquarters was 1776 Southwest Temple, a little one-story brick building. We're moving that building. It's seismically questionable. It's not only brick, it's used brick with lots of cracks in it. And we hope to put new housing there. As a matter of fact, that very spot might be first time condo ownership, believe it or not. Condos are making kind of a comeback in big cities. The state of Utah has set aside a bunch of construction money for condos. So that may be our opportunity in that particular part of the neighborhood. Oh, I brought some maps of these properties I'm talking about, separate from the zoning maps.
It
And
sounds like one of your capable staff also has a.
Well, I'm hoping there might be some.
Yeah, Dan, I have some graphics here with
oh,
a short presentation if you want me to.
Yeah, before we get to that, I just like to finish by pointing out the kind of the gray roofed buildings there are the senior housing that most people think are condominiums. They're actually filled with wonderful seniors. And then the kind of in the center of that map, you'll see smaller townhomes. That's Jefferson Circle. We'd like to, over the next couple years, either totally renovate that or perhaps increase the density, tear that down. It's a little bit old now. And then there's another kind of blue building there that we intend to tear down. And we own half of that green parcel that you see. That's actually a kind of a flood control area, but we'd like to permanently turn that into green space. We've already done things like fenced it and put dog park things there just because the neighborhood likes to use it. But the subject to the night here is kind of the overall, we've got a bunch of different kinds of zoning in this particular site, and we're trying to get it under the new zoning that's overlaying on top of this. And that's really why we're here tonight, to talk about that. As we design these projects over the next couple of years, we commit to working with you, listening to you, like we already are, about trying to force feed some home ownership into this normally rental area. But with that, I'll have Sia, Grant Wise, and Dan Judd, three of the superstars on our staff. Grant Wise is laughing because no one's ever called him that before. But go ahead and quickly, how much time do we have, Amy?
This is
Plenty.
the entire point
Yeah,
of the
great.
rest of our meeting.
So with that, we'll quickly go through some a short presentation on this.
Sorry, was Stephanie the other? I'm-
We have Cassie here as well,
Oh,
to
yeah,
answer
Cassie
it.
from the planning department is here. Cassie Younger.
Yes.
And another one of our board members is here, Fraser Nelson.
Yes, indeed. Let's see, sorry, people.
Yeah.
Getting you, Cassie, you moved around after you showed up. There you go. Gross.
You guys let me know if you can see that.
We can, thank you.
Yeah, it we appreciate you guys having us here to talk about this, and it's really, as Dan mentioned, just to give kind of an honest overview of where we're at and talk about maybe what you've seen with the rezoning application and that going to council that's coming up soon. So as Dan mentioned, as the housing authority owns this group of properties here, including Taylor Gardens here to the south. When looking at this property, we thought that there was just a lot more potential that could happen here and be a benefit to the community. A lot of these lots are vacant right now. They, as you can see, the setbacks on them are really difficult, making certain areas of it not really able to put anything there. So
I
it's
appreciate that you know a lot about zoning and might know about setbacks automatically, but I don't think that's true for everybody listening to the presentation. So if you'd like to describe something about the setback requirements, that could be really helpful.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Amy. So the green areas you see here are what is kind of buildable, what we can build on. And the dash lines are really the parcel or property lines. So all of these properties here, they have their own unique setbacks. Each one of them is a different zone. And as individual pieces, not much can happen on it. So the thought was when looking at this, how do we create something that's more buildable, that something can actually occur on it? So the thought was to maybe I can make this full screen. Can you guys still see that?
Yeah, it looks great.
So the thought was to really break it up into a single zone, as Dan mentioned, one on the west side that could potentially include the Jefferson townhomes. And that's really an exercise in getting one zone across the lot and getting rid of the setbacks so that something can occur on the site. The other piece to that is then doing not a rezone, but just a lot consolidation, really getting some of those lines cleaned up so that something can occur on this side as well. Now, Cassie's on here and she's been helping us go through this process. So really the rezone is focused on what you see here as number one, just to kind of even out the site, make sure that there's one zone across it and really make it more buildable. What that means is if that goes through, we can then begin to think about what might go on that lot. So we're really in that first stage of, I guess, a lot of steps of seeing what's possible here. And as Dan mentioned, we want to really get your guys' feedback and we value that. And the housing authority does take that feedback seriously. So we're just getting to step one to see if this lot can become buildable so we can begin to think about what will go on it. I'm going to show you guys this as a point of reference, the roundabout at Jefferson Circle and Taylor Gardens to the south. So part of the planning process is to kind of show, you can see this red circle here, and Taylor Gardens to the south. Part of the planning process is to just show what amassing would be if it were to go through the rezone. And this graphic that maybe has been shared around through the rezoning process isn't at all what's going to go there. It's really just showing that if there is one zone, that this is kind of the potential, and that's really used as a conversational piece. So it won't look anything like this. This was really just a conversation piece, and we we have to still, if this goes through, we still would have to hire an architect, put out an RFP, go through the full procurement process. And then once that happens, we can start to think about, which ultimately I guess the architect would help in what's going to happen on this lot or these lots. And then I think come in for feedback at the point that we know that something is happening. Same thing kind of applies for this side where you see the blue. It was really, that's not part of the rezone. It's just showing, hey, on this side, this is the heights and this is kind of what the zoning allows. And as Dan alluded to, it could be home ownership. It could be basically it's wide open, but without getting these approvals and going through that zoning process and the rezone process, we don't even know what's capable here yet, besides what it can hold as a massing. So here you can see a different view with that red circle there as a reference in Taylor Gardens. So this is just flipping it around. So I think a lot of this maybe was a little bit of, I guess some confusion that maybe this is a proposal but it really is just showing basically with setbacks, heights, what can be allowed. And if this goes through the rezone, then I think the next step would be putting out that RFP for the rezone portion on the west side and starting to really say, okay, something can happen here. As you guys might know in development, even to get to the point of thinking about what can go here, there's probably, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, like 100 steps that we have to do, looking at financing, looking at all different aspects before we are certain that, okay, something can go here. And at this point, I guess we're at the first baby step, which is, can we get this rezoned so that we can actually get something built here that makes sense?
See, could you go back to that original site plan?
Yes.
I wanted to, it's very light under here. This is Taylor Gardens, just to put it in scale. Again, a wonderful place where many seniors live.
Unless you live in a building D.
Oh, yeah. And then this is our office that we're tearing down. We're leasing it out in the interim to a school for sort of a daycare school.
This needs daycare, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is our Jefferson Circle, which, as I mentioned, those are townhomes that need a lot of work. We'll likely try to turn those into ownership. And I say likely because we have to appeal to HUD to allow us to change the whole.
So right now, those are 22 bedroom townhomes, and are they at 50% AMI or 30% AMI?
They would be some up to 80% AMI.
No, I mean currently, what are they?
Yeah, some of them go up to 80% of
Oh,
AMI.
really?
Yeah,
I tried to look up this information and I
Yeah.
found really different some of it said it's deeply affordable, 30%.
yeah.
So that's curious.
I tell you, the townhomes are pretty nice for families because you have your own front door, you have your own rear yard space. And of course, you have living areas on the ground floor and bedrooms above. So we hesitate to tear them down. It's
Got a
hard.
kid's playground too.
Yeah, there's a nice playground. But I just wanted to put that in perspective. Um, so, and then the rezoning is really this half of that, and we're going to slowly proceed with developing this half regardless. Hey, beautiful timing. That was, who did that? Uh, and we do own that red house, as you know, and that would change too. That would no longer just be a single family home. But all of that is we're in the very, very early stages, and I'll commit again to plan with the neighborhood council on what we do on all these. Yes, sir.
Recognizing, of course, you have to design it just, and that was just showing what could be. You did mention that you were considering retail. So the way that it was designed there, Taylor Springs, or whatever it's called, was quite open. Would that be the intention then to kind of open?
Well, I think the only way we might try to sneak some retail on the ground floor on 1700. And
So it's still kind of a very close property then.
yeah.
Do you own property on 1700 South at this?
Well, we're trying to assemble that one parcel above the CG zone site. We've been trying for a couple of years, actually. But if we do, we think it's appropriate for maybe, it doesn't necessarily have to be, drive up to big time retail, but some kind of ground floor activation. Again, we're a long ways from designing that, but I'd like to keep that as a concept. Yes, ma'am.
How did you come up with the MU5 zoning?
You want to answer that? Or
Yeah.
Cassie, yeah.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why we did a MU5, which is much less than, I guess, what the new zoning in this area would allow, was a few reasons.
Can you explain what MU5 is for folks who may not know?
So MU5 is one type of zoning that I believe goes to 5 stories maximum, if that's correct, Cassie. And in the new rezoning due to the track station and this whole area, it's actually going to be a lot more, but we just really wanted to consolidate these lots at an MU5. If you go much higher than 4 levels or 5 levels, which, we didn't want to do because the cost of construction then would get way too high to be able to do anything. And not only that, that's really the zone, even though it's a lesser zone, that allows this portion of the property that's west of Taylor Gardens, that's labeled RO, that vacant piece of land, we're able to use that. We wouldn't be able to use it if we went to a higher zone. So that was really the driving factor is, we didn't want to ask for some high density. We didn't even want to ask for what's going to be allowed. We're just asking for something that really fits in the context of the neighborhood, is against the tracks, is a little bit, medium density, but just really trying to find a way to make these properties put to good use.
A couple of it, since you brought up density.
It does look like there's a question in the chat that's
Okay.
in there, and I think it's really important about what happens to the families who are currently in those townhomes who would lose their housing before during the changes.
Yeah, Dan
Yeah.
can speak to that
Yeah,
right there.
and we've got a proven record of taking care of residents if we have to move them. One great example would be Sunrise Metro. Another is Capitol Homes. Do you remember the Capitol Motel on State Street?
Yep.
When we bought that, we didn't kick everyone out of the motel. Some of the people involved in crime left when they saw us. But we rehabbed that motel and kept the residents there at actually a lower rent than they had been paying as a hotel. And then we carefully and slowly relocated those residents. We have those kind of resources with things like vouchers. If we did this, these are the only residents in, that could have to relocate for major renovation or for conversion to home ownership. But we're really very, very good at sensitively moving people without having them lose their housing. As an example, on that Sunrise I just mentioned, we stopped leasing there about a year and a half ahead of time, or almost 2 years, just so as people moved out, we didn't put people back in. And if you do that over time, we call it freezing vacancies. You can start to create empty units, which really helps with any relocation issues. The other thing is, because we are primarily funded through public funds, if there is relocation that's going to be very long, we have to follow what's called the Uniform Relocation Act, which is a very, very fair and structured system for residents. But I don't see any timelines here that would come under that. That's if people have to, be away for a couple of years or that kind of thing. And then there's also opportunity for kind of first right of return with new construction, which we did that jointly with Housing Connect, the county's housing authority, on New City Plaza. Is anyone familiar with, kind of by the county building? So we've got I appreciate that people are concerned, but no one would permanently lose their housing. And if they have to temporarily move, we take very good care of people. We have one more property like that, Denver Street Apartments, kind of in the middle of town, where we very carefully relocated some residents. It's very expensive, but it's the right thing to do. As opposed to here's a chunk of money, go find something. It's
And in addition to those commitments and the housing authority's kind of proven track record, maybe Cassie, you can speak to the city actually has their own codes and requirements for that relocation as well.
That's right.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So, yeah, our new code does require that the applicant would provide tenant relocation assistance if those were to move. It does have a provision that if the property owner relocates those tenants and to like another one of their own properties, without paying application fees or anything. So if they move into like another housing authority unit or something, they wouldn't be eligible for those relocation fees, but it helps with like new applications and rental assistance and helping to secure new housing if those are demolished.
Thanks, Cassie.
But right now, those townhomes do seem like the majority of the proposed first rezone that we've seen described. geographically speaking?
Yeah, in fact, there's not much else on the other sites
Yeah.
that standing. This is kind of a no man's land mess back here between the railroad tracks and the side of Taylor Gardens. And similar back here. So yeah, this is probably the most highly impacted site. And up at the top there are the maintenance building that will be tearing down. It's just a concrete masonry 2-story warehouse, basically, that we're tearing down.
Is this all meant to be affordable housing?
Not necessarily. In fact, we're committing at this time, and I'm pausing because I don't want people to jump to total conclusions. And a lot of this will depend on what we hear from the neighborhood. But we're only committing at this time for any new apartments to be 15% affordable. Can you imagine that? Or 15% at 80% and below.
Yeah, that's
So
I've read two very different narratives, if you don't mind me saying.
No.
I've read the narrative that's on the city's open house website that says that you will be providing 230 to 260 total family affordable units. And then I've heard a new idea, which is that there will be 200 to 250 units. And 15% of those units will be affordable.
Yeah,
at moderate.
Yeah, so at the very least, 15% of them will be affordable at 80% and below.
Those are just really
So it's kind of we're kind of working at it as almost like workforce housing and family housing.
And also, just to be clear on that point, I think with conversations with the city, the number is just also there to provide an estimate, but that number can sway drastically based on, community feedback, financing, because if these are bigger 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, that number goes way down. And if it's workforce or 1 to 2 bedrooms, that number goes up. So the commitment is a percentage of those numbers, but without knowing what's going there, that number can sway, and that's why you've seen that, because we're just trying to say there's a range and it's somewhere, like you said, here to there, but really without knowing the financing, who's going in there, who's being targeted, what the community wants. We can't say a number because we haven't gone through the rezone and even had that approved yet.
Or the design, frankly.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here, and we'll be back over and over again to see how everyone feels about, the target population. And luckily, we do have many tools that other developers don't have as far as adding or subtracting affordability. We're allowed to do market rate as a housing authority. We have market rate at many properties, regular rentals. But we're still quite a ways from those decisions.
It was just puzzling to see such a very big difference between the two narratives.
Yeah.
It'd either be 30 moderately affordable units or 260 affordable units. That's a big difference.
Yeah, there was people jumped ahead on this, way before the rezoning, really, or as part of the rezoning. So we've had.
Yeah, and I can explain that a little bit, Amy, too, because I think their original application stated probably like a higher estimate of that 230 to 250, and stated that their community benefit would be affordable housing. And so as the application, so that was the early notification of just their initial application. But as we kept going in the process, the community benefit really requires more specifics than that.
Right.
And so after pressing them a little bit more, they were like, this is what we can comfortably, want to promise as that community benefit. So I'm sorry if that original early notification message seemed a little misleading.
It also seemed not consistent with what I understand of the site, because the proposed community benefit in that application describes it as being otherwise vacant land, when in fact the majority of it is already occupied by affordable family housing.
Well, again,
Sorry, I'm just looking.
no. Again, this is really the only existing affordable occupied housing.
Oh, I agree. But
And
it just
then,
it makes up the
this
majority of the site.
Yeah, the rest of this is all vacant land. And some of, not part of the rezoning, but some of this will now be vacant as well. So that's a great example. If the community, we've been hearing that the community for a couple of years, that the community would like to see more workforce housing, more family housing, and more ownership housing. So instead of doing sort of typical tax credit projects, which are often 100% affordable, at 60 and 50% and below of AMI, we started to steer it more towards a much wider mix of incomes. Again, we're nowhere near making those hard decisions, except to commit to the city of at least 15% affordable. Is that a little clear?
Yeah, it's just different.
Yeah.
But I would strongly agree with the statement about, we're an 80% renter occupied neighborhood. People would love. In Salt Lake, you can either rent or buy a single family home. There are precious few opportunities in between. And that leaves people that, people are going to get pushed out of the middle class.
Sir, I recognize we're very early in the process, and I would share my personal opinion, just for the sake of guiding that process as you go forward. Yes, we do want home ownership in the neighborhood. We've also said that we really love some kind of retail and in connection to the neighborhood. I'm not seeing that there, and the property as it is right now is not even connected to itself. Like it literally, you can't go from one part of Taylor Springs to the other part of Taylor Springs, or from either parts of the one property, Taylor Springs, to that zone in the middle there. Like, there's no connection. You can't get to any, like, it's just, these are completely isolated and cut off. How many of us have even driven into that area? I do own business, but other ones, there's no business there. It's not connected to the neighborhood. I like the way you had designed in the beginning, where it seemed like it would actually open up, and it would be a area that just, I don't know, connected to the neighborhood instead of taking from it. You talk about neighborhood benefit, put some retail in there and homes, and then all of a sudden we find that it becomes kind of a community space that brings people to it, that makes it easier for you to sell your location. You're looking at bringing somewhere between 200 and 600 people to the neighborhood to increase the density significantly.
Yeah.
There's no resource, there's nothing to do in our neighborhood.
Yeah, I think, some of those opportunities are perhaps along West Temple, which is a fairly busy street these days. And then, of course, if we can get one of those two parcels on the north up here, that will allow us some more street front space. But for those of you who don't go here very often, in fact, that's one people have often asked us, why do you have an office in the middle of a residential neighborhood? So even the office use is sometimes challenged. So I think, that's good input to try to incorporate more services, not necessarily big time retail, but some kind of storefront, activate the street level and activate. So as we plan, that's great input.
By pulling people in, You know, if you had, for example, back in that bottom left corner there, maybe
Uh-huh.
on top of that bottom left box, but up to the top of it, you had some just local level, I don't know, restaurant or small shops or something. That would bring people to it and bring people through your development, which reduce the crime in your development. You have crime in your development, you have needles all over. Having people traveling to the property starts to benefit.
yeah,
It also reduces crime.
I'd like to add to, which this is great feedback, that if you guys support and this rezoning goes through in the next few weeks, then that means that there could potentially be a project here and we can take feedback. So I think where we're at right now is if the rezone goes through, there's hope that something can happen and be a great addition to the neighborhood, and we will really value that feedback. So we're really hoping to get to the point that something is doable and then we can get that feedback.
I think something's gonna happen either way, because you're.
Yeah.
That land's gonna follow.
Yeah.
I'm giving you that feedback now because 6 months from now, you're not gonna be interested in the discussion. So hopefully, as you create what you're planning, my guess is you're gonna present something that you intend, and you'll have very limited opportunity to engage in that. Because I've seen these projects.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not an attack, it's your property, you do what you want, but you could actually really benefit the community if you were to kind of look at the community needs a little bit more and how it can benefit you.
So basically less residential, really, yeah.
Service your residents as you bring.
Yeah.
You're gonna increase significantly the density of that area and an area that's already been overtaxed. Is that fair? So provide some services and then it balances out, everything's great.
Cassie, could you maybe talk to us about, I know there are specific requirements in the different mixed use zones about what percentage is of active ground floor use is required, and for MU5, it's actually pretty stringent, right? It's if you're going to build a multifamily building, which it sounds like that's one of the major ideas, you need 75% active ground floor use, and that's not negotiable. Do I have that right?
Yeah, so that is correct, but the definitions for active ground floor use have changed with MU. So right now, the active ground floor use is only like retail and stuff along certain streets, and Jefferson Street does not apply. So it would just have to be any of the permitted uses within that zone, except for parking and storage. So units, tenant spaces, obviously retail, anything that's a permitted use in that zone is allowed on the ground floor.
I guess that's really important to notice because, the original application talked about specifically putting parking on the ground floor.
Parking was not discussed, I don't believe, in the original application.
Give me a minute.
Okay. Maybe it looked like it with the like 5/1s kind of. But yeah, that wouldn't be allowed on like the street frontage. But again, this property doesn't have a lot of street frontage, so it'll be an interesting design.
I'd like to hear what you're about to read from there.
Give me one more second. Yeah.
Maybe I'm misremembering.
This proposal also contains one unlisted benefit that we consider valuable to a residential neighborhood and to reducing the urban heat island effect: covered, structured parking hidden from off-site view.
Yeah, they're allowed to do that.
As long as it's not on the ground floor.
Along the street frontage, so it's allowed to be on the ground floor away from the street.
Got it. I'm still learning about the MU zones for sure.
Amy Genesis.
Oh, sorry. So I'm not. Sorry, I know you've been waiting, Janice, and then I'll get to Lloyd.
But we were talking about density at one time, and I guess I'm concerned about whether or not this property can accommodate as many units as you have. I think it might be interesting to see a comparison of what can be built on the property now, what you're proposing. And then I was also looking at, I know it hasn't been adopted yet, but it's the 300 West Corridor plan. To see if what you're proposing is envisioned in that document. And then another thing with that document, I guess I think of it when you ask for additional height across the street is a neighborhood, single family, and that the height of these buildings accommodates the height of those buildings, as in stepping down or whatever.
Yeah.
And being at a different level.
Yeah, we haven't designed anything, but in our sketchy designs, we do consider kind of staying fairly low near West Temple and having any height kind of back here. And by the way, this is really kind of landlocked back here. It's really grim. You know, I know again, the shadow underneath this is a fairly dense apartment project. At the time, it was really dense for the neighborhood. But once you drive down these parking lot roads and get back here, I mean, it's rough back here. There's dumping that goes on and homeless encampments, and so so we hear you loud and clear that there's single family homes all over this neighborhood. And there's quite a bit of multifamily on this side of West Temple.
I don't know of any multifamily homes on this side, other than tell you.
Well, we own one of them.
MacArthur, like 4 blocks south. Then there's
We own one of them up near 2100.
2100 south.
Yeah.
So
And then there's
in the immediate area, though, they're all single family homes for about 3 blocks. You got to get 4 blocks away to 2100 and 1900 before you get a multi.
Yeah, I guess, so, you know, you've got like Oakland Construction Office down here. And you've got, a 2-story apartment complex that we own down here. So there's, you know, so there's a fair amount of non-single family. And the same,
It's the height.
by the way,
Blocks
Yeah.
away. Looking at the
So-
map.
yeah,
That's 4 blocks away.
yeah.
So just to be
By the
just
way,
to be
the same
clear,
when you go north, there's quite a bit of commercial and multifamily on this side of West Temple as you go up towards the ballpark. Yet on the opposite side is a lot of single family.
Right, those
And
walls
also,
down.
once again, that's another situation where you've got 3 or 4 blocks of single family homes north of you, east of you, south of you. So you're coming in and you're recreating a new zone that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Prior.
these Taylor Garden developments have been wonderfully received when they arrived. You know, they were highly needed housing for seniors at a higher density than single family.
Well, that was only up until 2022 when you welcomed drug dealers and open drug market until that man got shot and killed.
The man that got shot and killed, which is no laughing matter, was a man fleeing from the police who turned into this parking lot. I don't know why people don't hear that when we tell them that.
Well, I've been.
There was a
trying to tell
man
everybody that
fleeing
it's been
the
an open drug
police.
market for months before that.
Well, let's talk about what you just said. There was a man fleeing the police who turned into the parking lot and was shot.
His name was Robert Bizarro.
Yeah, so-
He was on foot.
Oh, well, I don't know that particular. I wasn't here then,
Well,
but
you can check the report by the reporter Jacob Scholl for KSL.
I know Jacob.
Yeah.
So my point is, why is an apartment complex connected to a person who's shot when that person didn't live there, didn't visit there, was merely running from the police?
Because management welcomed him for
Oh,
months.
well, No,
But I think what he's saying, and I don't think, correct, is that there was some connection between this.
no, there wasn't a connection.
There was no connection between any of the.
Between any of the tenants,
Drug customers that frequented there every.
there was
day
no
for months.
connection between any of those tenants and the man that was.
Oh, that's just bullshit. There were 3 different drug dealers who lived there. You evacuated and kicked them out within a month because you wanted to cover your
I'm
news.
gonna have to put a pin in it,
Yes.
guys. Gonna have to put a pin.
No,
in
I
it.
appreciate-
Even though I appreciate, of course, you have strong feelings when somebody is shot to death next door to your
The
house.
trajectory of that
Of course
bullet
you do.
would have hit my house if it hadn't
But-
killed Robert.
But what I should show, just for the sake of bringing it back to, this is actually a conversation about zoning. Is some of the existing zoning in that area right now is actually, if you'll allow me to show.
Sure.
It's actually, some of it's taller.
Yeah, as Sia said, we're trying to not necessarily maximize.
It's a kind of weird,
And just to be clear, we're not
Conglomeration.
asking for additional height. And I know typically in like a rezone, people come and they want more height, more units. The rezone is really aimed at creating one zone so that we can just have a buildable site that really is in 2 of the zones lower than what's allowed. So we're not trying to add more than what's allowed. It's actually net, it's less. It's more about just creating uniformity because as you can see in this graphic Amy pulled up, it's really like a hodgepodge of zoning and different overlays and to get anything done here, we really have to uniformly make that into one site, which Amy can show you here. This is MU11, which I believe allows 11 stories.
yeah,
And yeah, and we're trying to max it at 5. So we're actually almost at half or over half. We're asking just for a singular zone so that something can happen. We're not really interested in adding a ton of density that's out of scale with the neighborhood.
again, this doesn't apply to your current rezone, but I didn't appreciate until, I started looking at this, that the road that connects Jefferson Street and West Temple is not a public road.
Right.
You apparently are.
Correct.
Right.
Do you intend to keep it a road? I literally, I don't know how.
We don't know yet.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, we're
That's-
our inclination is the fire department would
That's a great
want
point.
us to keep the road. So that will most likely be staying. But this is a great graphic of why we're doing this rezone. The new zoning, which was a question asked previously, would allow 11 stories, would bring this, I guess it's hard to tell where the property is in this graphic, but that's not what we're asking for at all in this application.
You would get a pretty weird building that's 11 stories just in what's currently MU11.
Yeah, that's like high-rise territory, and that would just, I think, not fit in the neighborhood at all,
Although
personally.
you could see 300 West.
Yeah.
As long as you put retail on the ground floor.
Yeah, the gentleman commented, as long as you put retail on the ground floor. Again, the tracks are here, but I get what you're saying, yeah.
It's your, I'm not against the project, it's your property, I'm just saying, like, I would love for y'all to incorporate that into the early stages. Like, what can we do to make this property more attractive to the people you're gonna bring in? And also just to the community in general, to
Yeah.
to the community. So
And some business income to some people.
tax base for the city.
Yeah.
Benefits everybody.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
maybe
that's
things
where
like
you're at.
daycare and that, there's sort of an interim between retail and service.
Our developers don't want to do that, can sell every unit they can, they have to squeeze everything they can out of the property, and you guys have, I assume, flexibility.
Cassie, I'm gonna share that graphic you threw in the chat.
Ideally, if you want it to be following the life of the bullet.
Exactly,
Places to, so that would help with that, and it would also benefit the community and bring them into the community. Like I said, those areas, they're black holes, nobody even knows they exist.
Yeah.
And that's okay, it's housing, but it could just very well be integrated into the community, because you're getting reduced crime, because through it.
All right, that's what we're looking at for the rezone. So the MU one is really only a tiny piece of the property. The majority of it is Farm F-35.
And the MU8 portion down there.
Yeah. But that's the part that Dan's really sold us on about being really attractive.
As townhomes.
I don't want to miss Fraser Nelson's question about what your working definition of workforce housing is.
Well, it's an overused term. What it really means is, generally people that are employed, which generally means, very generally, people that businesses want to attract as employees, and therefore there's a place to live. Kind of like you described earlier, it's harder and harder to live in certain neighborhoods, including this one now, because of the high costs of rents and ownership. So, 80% of AMI, sometimes people say 100% or 120% of AMI. And we're actively trying to do that at other places in Salt Lake City as well.
Area median income for Salt Lake City for a family of four is about what, 120?
126, I think. Does anyone got there?
Or person, I have the chart up, 122, what's
122.
100% of AMI.
Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
get into this family size deal where 4 people in a family, 1 person in a household, bedroom size, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
We were at,
And
well, go ahead, see ya.
oh, I was just gonna say, people use workforce, affordable housing in general just means all types, there's senior housing, there's
have a message for our community.
Hold on,
City.
what's this?
And I have a message for us.
Can you read it?
Us.
What?
Fuck out.
What? It's not.
It might be a video playing in the background. That's the main video.
This is my phone. We just, when you come down the line.
Are being hurt.
All right, thank you.
That was the mayor of Minneapolis.
That wasn't very video.
I don't know how that, I was looking at the map of the neighborhood and that just did that by itself.
So we had that problem during COVID where like Zoom calls would be let into. I've never seen it happen in real life.
That was kind of silly.
So I think I was just trying to make the point that, affordable housing is a very broad term, but when people use the term workforce, in my opinion, they're just talking about me and everyone that's just working individuals that housing in Salt Lake City is outpacing the incomes. And if you attract workforce, even at those AMIs and incomes that Amy just mentioned, that's really just normal working people that can't afford housing in Salt Lake City because of the pace and the inflation and the prices that we've seen. So I think when people hear workforce or affordability, it's really like Dan just said, it's just your normal working family person who also needs housing, which is one sector of affordable housing. And it doesn't always mean formerly homeless or any stigma against it. in my humble opinion, these are just working folks in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, I think my only remaining questions are just sort of solidifying the idea of what, a rezone requires there to be a community benefit and requires there to be a replacement of at least an even substitution of the existing affordable housing. And I know the Housing Authority has a great reputation for like, that's your whole deal. But what? It seems like things are so uncertain right now that there is no formal understanding of what the community benefit would be.
Yeah, I mean, technically, the community benefit, and Cassie can correct me if I'm wrong. The community benefit that's been submitted so far is that 15% affordable, believe it or not. That's considered ambitious by some of these developers.
But that's less than what currently exists on site.
Yeah, well,
Amy, that would have to be in addition to that replacement housing.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Because they would have to, if the plan is to demolish them, they would have to replace those 20 units and they would have to be 2 bedrooms and have a similar like equivalent rent. So there would be those 22 bedroom affordable units. And then whatever else they build, that would have to be 15% of those units would be 80% AMI.
Yeah, and again, I said this in the beginning, we may come to you for help if you're behind the idea of rehabbing this into home ownership. We may come to you for help in convincing HUD to let us do that. So far, it requires a waiver from HUD.
Well, HUD is so stable right now. That's a joke.
What? Oh, yeah.
Actually, I don't,
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen a lot of interesting ideas fly out of
just to further that concept, you've heard of community land trusts where houses are bought and sold, but the land remains in common ownership. Our very progressive board, who I hope Fraser's still on, just formed a community land trust under our board. So this Jefferson Circle, if we could get a HUD waiver, would be a pretty cool project to renovate and turn into first-time condo or townhome ownership. Again, at all very affordable levels, 80% and below. Now that might be a bit of a pipe dream, but we've been known to kind of push the envelope with HUD in a positive way. As an example, we're doing a new complex for seniors right at Sugar House, right on that pond of Fairmont Park. We're tearing down an office building. Apparently that's one of our new modes. And then across the street, the whole shopping area of Sugar House, 110 units for seniors. It started construction already. We have financing. The way we pushed the envelope with HUD on that was to say, you normally allow 90 to 110% of fair market rents to be paid for rent. For about 18 of these units, we want 150% of the normal rent so that we can have money for services for those seniors. And that's a really tough nut to crack. You'll hear a lot of affordable housing developers, including homeless and seniors and veterans. We're one of the largest veteran previously homeless. A rough time getting money for the proper services. Sometimes you can build the real estate, and then guess what happens then? It's not well managed and there's problems. So we were probably the first one in the country to get these 150% of FMRs to help those seniors in Sugar House that will be living there.
One thing that I think would be great is that, you need help from the community. There's plenty of us who would love to host Steve Waldrop to come in and speak to the community and talk to him about our interests in creating more dense for sale housing opportunities. And I know he's amenable to that.
Yeah,
But you know, we could write you a letter, but of course, he could write a better letter from Steve Waldron talking about how great the idea is. That we welcome the opportunity for him to speak more directly to the
Yeah.
community.
and so we've been around since 1970, and we've built a lot of multifamily housing, including market rate. But we really intend to enter this for sale, first time homeowner housing aggressively, which is another reason we formed a new company to do the land trust. Yes, sir.
Kind of an aside, still longer time. Have you thought about like a lifestyle village type model?
What?
A lifestyle village type model?
Kevin, can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
They're a local program. They help people, parents, specifically single parents to work their way towards stability and home ownership. Basically, you start off, they give you an apartment that's like $500 a month, and then you live there for approximately a year. There are a few skills that they teach along the way, like you have your own apartment. There's a community basis to it, and they'll use in classes on financial literacy, parenting, that kind of stuff. But you can tailor it to whatever you want to help people to build to for stability, because it seems like that's right up your alley.
Yes, yeah.
And after I think a year and a half, then my numbers are off, but after a year and a half or so, they move you into these condominiums that are separated more from the community, more independent, more just kind of that's you. And then after a certain number of years, like a year and a half living there, they then give you back everything that you paid in rent.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you
yeah.
have to buy a home. And
Yeah, let's talk about that. We do some similar things. We have something called a family self-sufficiency program, where instead of raising the rent to residents when their income goes up, many of our residents pay a percentage of their income for rent. So somebody could be paying $300 a month. Right next door, somebody's paying $1,100 because it's up 30% of income. But in this case, instead of the rent going up when you make more money, it goes into escrow for 5 years, similar to that concept. And then the residents get that escrow back. We hand them out at our board meetings. Frazier has been to some of these. I mean, these are like $40,000, $30,000 in savings after 3 or 4 years. And if you can match that with down payment assistance, which we've done, we created 7 homeowners that way last year.
the programs can pay for themselves, because if
Yeah.
a large number won't have the stability to carry on through the program, so that money gets recouped.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but you guys were.
Kevin, this is a cool model. Thanks for telling us about
Yeah.
it.
There's not enough of it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can imagine. It looks really innovative. I mean, to me, you're gonna look at me and be like, Amy, it's not innovative at all. So you just need to know about it.
Just,
Surprised that it.
we haven't done enough of it, well, like. I have business cards I'll leave here, and I do return my calls.
Do until you, how long are you gonna keep this job, Dan?
I probably until I can't,
Okay. No, but I've just heard rumors that you might
I
hire.
no intentions, huh?
Okay, if I hear those rumors again, I'll squelch them.
Okay.
Okay.
I have worked at 5 other housing authorities over the years. In fact, I've worked at 2 of them twice. So I often tell my boards, I've had 8 housing authority boards, or 7 really.
I know you know a lot of models. All right, feel like we've had a good, healthy, thorough discussion here. Does anybody else want to contribute any more? This is going to the planning commission later this month still. Yes, Cassie? Is that the plan?
Yep, I just threw my email in the comments.
Oh, you sure did.
It's
Thank you.
scheduled for planning commission on the 28th. So any public comments would be due by noon that day. Preferably earlier.
Preferably, Well, thank you for your help. I think you might be out of the office, so I really appreciate you signing on, Cassie.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks guys for listening to this presentation. And I wanted to be there. I just have a newborn baby right now, so but
Walter.
Pretty
yeah,
valid excuse to not leave the house for a while.
yeah, but we're still committed, working night and day, trying to provide housing for all the residents at Salt Lake City.
Well, we forgive you for moving away to Central City, leaving us. It's okay. We'll get used to it, I suppose. I mean, all of the housing authority, not just you.
I was like,
But are you liking your new digs? Are they working out?
Yes, we moved into the Okra building, half of us.
It's a beautiful building.
Oh, and much more attainable by our customers
All right.
as far as.
Match on the chat. That we
Yes.
might do.
Yes, yes. Okay, well, unless anybody else wants to unmute and contribute comments that we can throw into a letter, that'd be fine. We could do that. Greater virtual call. Okay. I'm glad that we are psyched about rezoning, because guess what we get to talk about next month? Is the ballpark rezone. So even higher, even denser, even bigger. We're gonna talk about
So,
that.
Amy,
Yes, ma'am.
what is this map of?
This
Current
is,
zoning.
this is the current zoning, yeah.
That's the current zoning?
Yeah. So the MU changes.
I mean, so those are like multi-use.
Very recent, yeah.
Is RMF is a hodgepodge.
It is, yes. All right, thanks for signing on, friends.
Thank you so much.
No, I.
thanks guys.
My sister and I used to live in those. I've been.
What's that mean?